Look who stopped by right here. Yes. One of the top quarterbacks available in this year's draft from Syracuse by way of the Ohio State and Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Way back in the day. Kyle McCord here on the Rich Eisen Show.
Yeah, let's go.
How are you, Kyle?
Yes, sir. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
You grew up in the shadow of NFL films, Kyle? Is that where you're from?
5 minutes down the road, yeah.
Did you ever run into the Sables at the supermarket? That ever happen, Kyle?
No, I didn't.
Never.
No.
Did you ever visit? Have you ever been to Mount Laurel?
I got like a tour of the facility when I was younger, yeah, but that's about it, yeah.
That's about it. Now, let's get you to the next level. Let's get those tight spirals zooming in with the music, right? And you being mic'd up for sound and just going ahead and crushing it. So let me talk about your journey so far. What is happening in your skull 1 week before the draft right now, Kyle?
Yeah. It's been a crazy few months going through the whole process, but at this point, it's kind of slowed down a little bit. No more Zooms, no more visits. It's kind of, just waiting now. But I feel like I did everything I needed to in the process. And now there's, no regret wishing that, I wish it could have changed something. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens a week from now.
Okay. Where are you right now? Where have I found you on this Thursday?
I'm in Syracuse right now.
You're in Syracuse. Oh, nice. Okay. Is it, let me ask, is it true you were back in your home state winging it around for a certain team that resides in the NFC East that wears blue on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Where you were there?
That is true, yeah.
Okay, we can confirm that. So was it just you? Did they have a whole bunch of people? Was it just a Giants Kyle McCord summit? Is that what it was?
Yeah, no, I think there might have been, one or two other players there, different position.
Okay.
But, I spent most of the day with the O staff, which was good.
Okay. So was Daboll there as well?
Yep.
Okay. So what vibe did you get? What was that? What can you share with me about that, Kyle?
Yeah, no, they definitely put me to the test. They want to know how well you process things and, how quickly can you pick up information. And so with all the teams, they definitely were, the one that tested me the most, but it was good. It was a lot of fun. And, they're great dudes with a great record of developing young quarterbacks as well. So that would be a great spot to end up behind, two great veterans as well.
So that was kind of like your last intense test before the draft. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Who else have you met with in person like that? Similar situation? Yeah.
The Steelers, the Saints as well, the Jets. That was probably the handful of teams, but it just like I do. As much as you think you have an idea of who likes you and where you might end up, you really have no idea until you get that call. So, it's fun to speculate a little bit about where you might end up, but it's at this point, who knows?
What's the through line on the questions you get asked? What's the most common one that you've been hit about your journey, your career, your style, anything?
Really just about the transition from Ohio State to Syracuse and the jump I took going from one school to the other and kind of the similarities and differences between the offense and stuff like that. So I've been asked that question probably 50 times now. So you got that answer pretty much memorized, but that's probably the most common question that comes up.
All right. So what's the answer you give? What answer do you give to that question?
I tell them I knew I'd make a big jump from year one to year two as a starter, regardless of where I was, whether that was Ohio State for another year or somewhere else. And then I think that playing at Ohio State prepared me for anything that I'm going to see down the line. I think that's the closest thing you can get to being on an NFL team without actually being in the NFL, surrounded by talent and the expectation from, the fans and the coaching staff and everything that goes into it. It gets you ready for the NFL and, just went back and was brutally honest with myself and really watched the tape and got better from it. And knew that I was going to take a big jump. And I think having 12 games starting there under my belt in 2023 really helped me in 2024 know what I needed to work on. And I feel like that definitely served me well going into last season.
So I'm just going to ask you a point blank question, similar to what John Gruden did, Kyle. He was a little bit more going to tape and film with you in his quarterback school, which was a fascinating watch. Do you feel you were scapegoated by Ohio State, Kyle McCord?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, listen, I'll tell you, just as much as any coach, any player in that facility, I wish that in 2023 would have won that game. And obviously, if we win that game, there's, a good chance I'm a Buckeye in 2024. But that's the reality of college football now. I feel like, especially at a school like that, there's a lot of pressure to win every year. It's national championship or the season's a failure. And, it's the third straight time losing to Michigan. And so, I get that they felt like changes need to be made. And that was really my first taste of the business side of things. And, it wasn't necessarily an easy decision to leave and wasn't an easy thing to do, but obviously worked out for me and worked out for them. I think it's one of those rare cases in the transfer portal where both sides benefit from it. So as hard as it was to walk away from that, it was the best thing that I could have done for my career at the time.
Well, I mean, clearly you thrived at Syracuse. And one of your biggest games occurred in the final regular season game of the year, Kyle, where you and Syracuse beat Miami and the assumed first overall pick in the draft in Cam Ward. I did hear what you did have to say after that game, Kyle, because it seemed like you were scoreboard watching at the same time about some other game that was going on in another state. Am I wrong, Kyle? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I you saw the question I got asked. And when I said it came full circle, I mean, I was talking more so about, myself and, obviously losing the last game of the year at Ohio State in the fashion that we did. And then fast forward winning, like you said, against Miami. And then, I think it was just, kind of a full circle moment for me. I think it might have gotten taken out of context a little bit, but
no. I kind of think I took it in the proper context, Kyle McCord. I'm not going to lie, but I assume you know what institution of higher learning I attended, right? Kyle?
I sure do.
Okay. So I kind of was just like, all right, I like this kid's moxie. That's the way I responded to it. And and again, I'm just wondering, do you at any point in time? I mean, again, it's technically a competition, although obviously the draft is opinion based, and these opinions are something you really can't control very much. Do you point out to anybody, hey, there's a guy everybody's thinking is drafted first overall. Take a look at what I did against that team. Do you kind of spike the football in that regard in any way, shape, or form in your conversations?
Yeah,
at all?
I mean, I think for both teams, for them it was for Miami, if they won, they got into the ACC championship, and for us, honestly, it was just trying to get to a place where we could get 10 wins with the bowl game. So it was a big game for both of us. Obviously, the biggest game of the year for them and us as well, honestly. And I wouldn't say I outperformed him or anything like that. But, when it came down to it, I think that our offense made, just enough plays to win. And especially in an environment like that, I think that just kind of lets teams know, I think, just the competitive side and, obviously a high scoring game back and forth, but being able to win, I think kind of stamped what I was telling teams. Like, then I have the ability to go out and win those big games and be able to put up points. And so I think everything, that I showed in that game just kind of represents my game as a whole.
Kyle McCord here, a few minutes left with the man who broke an ACC record for yards thrown in his one season with Syracuse right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do you feel like there's, a narrative-based conversation here, Kyle, that you switch schools, the school that you switched from won it all the next year, and thus you're having trouble breaking through as a viable face of a franchise at the next level? Are you saying that? Are you at all encountering that in your conversation? This might just be media driven.
Yeah, not really, to be honest. I think, a lot of teams have told me that the fact that I went through that adversity and leaving Ohio State and coming to Syracuse, who in the past has been average at best, like 7-6, 6-7, pretty much every year, and being able to get to 10 wins, they say it's really attractive to them. And obviously, you don't know how guys are going to react when they're faced with adversity, but I think that going through all that gave them a perfect idea of how I'd react. And I think every NFL quarterback who goes on to have success at one point in their career faced adversity. And so, like I said earlier, as tough as it was to leave and go through that, personally, I think that was the best thing for me to face that adversity and grow. And I think NFL teams see value in that as well.
Kyle McCord, I'd like to introduce you to Syracuse alum, class of 2002, Chris Brockman, who's got a question for you. Chris?
Yeah, Kyle, look, my freshman year, Donovan McNabb was my quarterback, and that was the most fun I thought could possibly happen, being a student, being a fan of the university. And then last year happened. And first off, on behalf of all the alumni, thank you for bringing football back, you and Coach Brown and LeQuint and Aronde and everybody else on the roster last year. Could you feel it in the community that you guys were kind of doing something special and that getting the fans and the 315 back excited about football?
Yeah, I mean, I was when I first got there, I was pleasantly surprised by just the amount of support that we got off the bat. And to me, like, I thought that's kind of how it always was there. And then guys like Aronde and LeQuint and Justin Barron, guys who have been there for a while, like, dude, it was not ever like this when we were here. Like, this is the first time where, people are, paying money to come see us at a meet and greet and, just say what's up and get autographs and then come into the spring game. Like, I think we set an attendance record last year for the spring game, and then rolling into the season, especially once we started having success and winning games, you could definitely feel it throughout the community, just how much people enjoyed watching, a winning team. And so to see that turnaround in just, a short year, obviously wish my time there could have been a little longer, but just seeing that turnaround that quickly, I think was one of the most fulfilling parts about coming here.
I'm going to ask you a question I ask every top prospect that comes on this program, kind enough to say yes when we come knocking. What will a team get if they draft Kyle McCord?
Competitor. I think that's first and foremost. I love to compete. And I think the other thing too is a winner. Lost 2 games in high school and won 3 state championships, and then went to Ohio State and lost 1 game being a starter there, and then came to Syracuse. And like I said earlier, took a team that went 6-7 the year before the first year of head coach, and in 1 year went 10-3. So I've won everywhere I've gone. But I think the most important thing, honestly, is you look at my trajectory from year 1 to year 2 as a starter and just how much better I got. I think that there's not another player in the draft that made a bigger jump than I did. And so I think that if I can just continue to stay on that trajectory and continue to be hungry to learn and get better, imagine what it's going to look like in year 2 and year 4 and year 6, down the line, just how much growth I can have. And so I think that's, the most exciting thing for teams looking at me. And then honestly, just looking at myself, knowing that, how well I played last year, I still have a lot more left to get better at. And so I think that's exciting. And I feel like that's really the selling point that I have to teams is that, I'm ready to play now, but at the same time, I know there's still more that I can do to take my game to the next level.
Kyle McCord, I appreciate your time here. And again, you knew where I went to school, and you still said yes. So I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Number one. Number 2 is my other, brand on that front is to drag other people down to my level. And instead of doing that to you, what I'd like to do is drag you down to my level, but in a way that we can agree on something. Kyle?
Yeah.
Would you mind repeating to me what you told John Gruden? You were jawing at the Notre Dame fans after beating Notre Dame. Will you please tell that to my audience? Because that really got me the warm and fuzzies inside when I heard this. Kyle, please.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say verbatim what I said on Barstool.
Yeah. Okay.
But the PG version was go home, go beat the traffic. And then the other thing was there's not a lot of fans that are Notre Dame fans that live in Indiana. They fly in privately on Friday, go to the game, and leave Saturday night. Mm-hmm. So, tell them to go and, start the jet up and get up out of there.
Yes. I read that and I'm like, you know what? I really do like this kid. Deep down, you and I can share that intense dislike. I love that. Yeah, not a lot of Notre Dame fans from Indiana, a lot of locals around here. They all fly in because they loved Rudy. They loved watching it. You know what I mean? I like you, Kyle McCord.
Like the cut of your jib.
I do. Thanks for the time. Greatly appreciated, Kyle. You be well.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Good luck. I look forward to seeing where you go, and I'm sure that will be a pretty neat moment. When you get chronicled in any way, shape, or form by NFL Films, a kid from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. That's pretty cool stuff, man. I hope that happens for you as fast as you like.
Yep. You and I both. Thank you.
You got it, man. That's Kyle McCord, everybody, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. A lot of you guys aren't from around here.
He really cleaned it up. If you watch Gruden's QB camp.
Well, I appreciate that. Now,
Yes,
that's a guy
he
that
really
understands
cleaned it
the audience. He understands where he is, you know.
Yeah.
Very different. And I appreciate that. Although we do have a bleep button just in case he wanted to give us the Barstool Gruden version.
You know.
But I mean, like, if you're going to jaw at Notre Dame fans after beating them in their house, I kind of dig you.
The best part, too, about that is, that the famous ending of that game is Notre Dame only had 10 players on the field.
Oh, that's right.
And so he says to Gruden, he's like, I noticed there was a gap, and I kind of did a quick count, and I looked over at the sideline, and I was like, I didn't want to give it away, so they saw that I knew that they only had 10 guys on the field. And
Smart.
Then we ran the play and scored, and then I started jawing. It's pretty funny.
Oh, is he still listening? Right, pop him back up. Pop him back up. I just want to tell you again, I really dig your thought process. I really do.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good stuff. I knew exactly when he asked me that question. I knew exactly what I was gonna say. It was funny, but yeah, I mean, because they put, I think it's like the donor section is right behind your bench, and so the entire game it's like 56-year-old dudes like yelling at you, and yeah, it was terrible, and so obviously in the game, like, you're not going to turn around and say anything. And then there's a clip of me after we scored, like, hopped up on the bench and was yelling at them, and they're all, walking to the exit. So yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. Can't hear you over your jingling Rolexes as you go back to your plane, gas up the jet at the FBO in South Bend.
Yep.
I got you. I got you. We'll chat again soon, Kyle. Have a good draft.
Sounds good.
There
Thank
you go.
guys.
That's Kyle McCord, everybody.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes.
Always like when people hang on to listen and then they pop back on. And now he's gone. Very good. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.